We begin this half hour with new developments in the search for Madeleine McCann. She's the little girl who vanished in Portugal 6 years ago as a toddler. Now police in Britain are opening their own investigation. NBC's Michelle Kosinski is in London with details. Michelle, good morning.
Hi, Kate. Right. This is 6 years later. Now, British police say, OK, we've reviewed part of the investigation. Now we are going to open our own on British soil of what we believe to have been an abduction in Portugal. They have already identified 38 people of interest and emphasized that Madeleine could be alive.
The strain of losing then 3-year-old Madeleine is still visible on her parents' faces, enduring 6 years without a single development in her disappearance from her bed while the family vacationed in Portugal. Now that is all changing thanks to British police.
We have decided to move from review to investigation. We're absolutely committed to finding out what happened to Madeleine McCann.
Scotland Yard started looking at the case 2 years ago, reviewing more than 30,000 documents. But other numbers are more astounding, that they've identified nearly 4,000 leads that need to be investigated. 38 people of interest in 5 countries, 12 of them British. It has brought life to a case that in Portugal had gone cold and been closed. Already, British police say, uncovering new theories, new evidence, new witnesses, and new invigorating hope for Madeleine's family.
I think we're more hopeful now of finding Madeleine than we have been at any point since the early days after she was taken.
And cases like Elizabeth Smart and the 3 women held captive for a decade in Cleveland, then found, reinforced the urgency.
The review has told me is that there is no clear definitive proof that Madeleine McCann is dead. And so on that basis, I still genuinely believe that there is a possibility that she's alive.
As much inside work as these detectives have already done, at the end of every statement, they always appeal to the public for any help anyone might have, reminding us that it is still very early in their investigation. Kate?
Michelle Kosinski, thank you. Joshua Rosenberg is a legal journalist who's been following the Madeleine McCann story since the very beginning. Joshua, good morning to you.
Good morning, Kate.
So Maddie McCann disappeared in 2007, 6 years ago. So many years later, why now is this formal investigation being launched in Britain?
Well, because the government here in London has agreed to pay for it. This is being done by Scotland Yard, and normally the cost would fall on London taxpayers, but the government has decided that this is so important that this should be funded. Now, it's important because, as you heard the senior police officer say, this is no longer a review into what went wrong. This is an investigation into what can be put right. And although these 38 people of interest may not all be suspects, some of them may be witnesses, the police clearly want to talk to them, want to investigate them and see what light they can cast on this disappearance, which, although it was 6 years ago, is still a front-page story here in London.
Sure. Unusual, though, for one government to be investigating something that happened on another government's soil, isn't it?
It's a very sensitive thing for the Metropolitan Police, for Scotland Yard, to be doing this, and they have won the support and cooperation of the Portuguese police, even though I'm sure when this is all over, people will say, well, the local police in the Algarve might have missed leads, but you know, to be fair to them, they weren't used to dealing with such a mysterious and difficult and dreadful case as this. So quite a lot of sensitivity is required, but it seems that good relations have been established between Scotland Yard and the Portuguese police, and it seems that the police in London can now operate in Portugal. They've already made several trips there to make contact.
We're hearing now that Madeleine's parents and the 7 members of the party that was traveling with them have essentially been cleared. How significant is that?
Well, that is significant. It's very important. Inevitably, when somebody disappears, a child or a member of a family, you look at other members of the family and you think, might they have been responsible, even though they obviously profess that they weren't. And there were newspapers that even had to pay damages for wrongly accusing the McCann family of involvement. They've had to live through a very difficult media storm. But now everybody accepts that they and the people they were dining with on the night that Madeleine disappeared had absolutely nothing to do with her tragic disappearance.
And just quickly, can we show the photo that they've put out that shows what Madeleine might look like now at the age of 10 years old? That's on the right there. Just to give people a sense, there have been sightings of her reported. How significant have those been? Have those led to any leads at all, Joshua?
Well, certainly that picture that you see will encourage people to look around and see, is there a little girl who might have joined another family, who might not know that she is Madeleine McCann, who might have been assimilated into another group of youngsters, and people will look at that child and say, well, maybe that's her. There have been sightings, but of course they've proved negative.
Joshua Rosenberg, thanks so much.